So I know that all of you guys have almost already gotten your license, and if you haven't, then you're probably really excited to get it. But you should always be aware of like your surroundings and what's around you and the consequences, like with everything that you do. So when I was in 4th grade, it was the end of 4th grade year, and we had a cabin. It was out by Brandon, and it had like some land. It was down by the river though, and we had just gotten a golf cart a few months ago, and it was yellow, and the steering wheel was kind of weird because it wasn't like a regular circle steering wheel. It like had a weird shape to it, so you had to turn it like this to drive. And so we would go out there pretty much every weekend just to go out there. And one weekend I brought a friend with me, and we woke up the next morning and we decided to go out and drive the golf cart, which we had done before. That's pretty much what we always did out there. And I don't remember how long we were driving for until I saw Max outside, and I don't know what he was doing. He was just like watching us, and I don't know, all of a sudden I saw him with a glass of water, and I don't know why I was so scared of the water, but apparently I didn't want to get wet. And so I like started looking back at him and seeing how close he was, and I looked back one time and he was like right behind us, so I decided to go faster. And while I was looking behind me, there was a tree that popped out in front of me, and I ran into the tree. And I don't really remember anything like right after it happened. I don't really remember hitting the tree either. But I remember Max and my sister like running towards me and like yelling, and I didn't know what was happening. And then my sister yelled, "Your bone's coming out," and like my bone was sticking out on my arm right here. And we were walking up the stairs, and my brother and sister were crying, and I was sitting there because I was in shock, and I couldn't see it because it was on my other side. And so I didn't really believe it at first. And we were walking up the stairs, and my sister was holding my arm, and I asked her if it was a dream because I couldn't feel anything, and I thought it would hurt. But then we got inside, and my grandma was still in her nightgown from the night before because it was still in the morning. And my sister started yelling at her, saying that we needed to go to the hospital. And at first my grandma was like, "Hold on, let me change," because she didn't want to go in her nightgown. But then apparently my sister convinced her that we needed to go now. And so we got in the car, and like the whole way to the hospital, my sister was crying, and she had a towel on my arm holding it. And there's one turn on the road where you can go one way and it's gravel, and then the other way and it's just the pavement. And I was like, I remember saying, "Grandma, don't go on the gravel, it'll hurt," because like the bouncing. And so we went on the pavement, and then I remember we got to the hospital, and my sister took the rag out from underneath me, and it was like completely full of blood. And so we went into the emergency room, and they like wrapped it up in some gauze in just like a temporary cast. Then we went and took x-rays of it, and I couldn't like put it on the table because my bone was sticking out, so they made me put it on a tissue box and take x-rays. And then after the x-rays, they said that it was too bad and that I had to go to Cedar Rapids, but they only had one ambulance at the hospital at the time, and so my grandma volunteered to just drive there, and so we drove there. I don't really remember the ride because it was all wrapped up, and so it wasn't like bleeding everywhere anymore. But when we got into Cedar Rapids, I think it was raining, but I don't really remember. But when we got into the hospital and got a room, and then all of a sudden they called a blackout, which is like a tornado warning, so we couldn't move any rooms at all. So we had to stay in our room, and then the blackout didn't end until like 12 o'clock that night. And so I went into surgery like around 12 or 12:30, and it didn't hurt. My arm didn't hurt at all because I was still like in shock at all. And right before we went into surgery, we were like in the hallway right outside the door to go in, and my grandma said, like I told her that it was starting to hurt, like worse and worse, and then she said, well, we have to wait for the doctor with the medicine. And so I remember yelling, where's the man with the medicine, because it started to hurt really bad. And then I remember we went into the surgery room, and he asked me if I remember talking about a scuba mask, and I was like, no. And so he said, okay, well, this is it. You're going to go into surgery. And I was like, okay. And so he put the mask over me, and then I don't remember anything after that. I woke up in the hospital room, though, and my arm kind of hurt, but not really because they gave me medicine. And I remember it was at St. Luke's and Cedar Rapids, and I had an Xbox in my room. I don't really know why, because I couldn't play it anyways with my arm. But whenever my brother would come up and visit, which was like every day, he would play it. And I had troubles eating because I had an IV in my left arm and then a full cast, and I couldn't move it. And so I pretty much had to be fed, because if I bit my IV, a beeper would come on and a nurse would come in the room. So yeah, I was in the hospital for maybe 2 weeks, and then I remember I got to miss like the last 2 months of 4th grade because I couldn't do anything, and my teacher said that I was ahead and everything, so I didn't have to do it. And then I was in bed pretty much the first half of the summer because it just hurt and I couldn't get up. And then I remember I would ride my bike around town because I didn't want to sit in bed, and my brother would ride around town with his bike too. And so I'd set my cast on the bike and just ride around town. And yeah, so you guys may not think that you could get hurt. Like, I never thought that I would hit that tree, but it popped out in front of me, so I did. And so just beware of the consequences that you can get into by doing stuff.
Okay.